It's a critical time we live in. I remember when I first came across this article online, and it talked about the end of the white race. I I didn't know what to think or what to say about it. I didn't know if it was true. What if it's just propaganda? And then I decided to do some bit of research on my own. And upon doing my research, I saw that they weren't just talking about, white people in America. In fact, this was a global issue. Now, whenever I do research, I'm not stupid. I know to, check the resources of the article. Once you check those resources, double check those resources, make sure that everything is legit. It was very surprising, very shocking. I had no idea that this has been going on. Apparently, this is something that has been a part of the conversation for some time now, some decades. This isn't something new. This isn't the first time that the media has spoken about this. But as Black people, we don't really pay attention to things like that. Like reading articles or keeping up with what's going on with each race. We don't do stuff like that. So that's why it's interesting to me when I started looking at things, started doing the research. Could this be natural selection as we move forward? I'll tell you one thing, it sure as hell seems like it is. There's so many things that's attacking specifically white people. I've read like several articles before that talked about there was something that was in the water that was only killing white women. Only white women. I mean, like, everyone drinks the same water that was in that particular area. Everyone is taking showers and baths in the same water, but the only people who died from this water or having exposure to this water was white women. Then you have the opioid epidemic that's going on, that's primarily affecting white people. I remember at first when they began discussing the opioid epidemic, they were trying to say that it was generally something that primarily affected white Americans who didn't have an education, or who were poor, who lived in poor areas. But as of a few months ago, they came out and researchers are finding that the opioid epidemic is affecting everyone across the board. So regardless of your education, regardless of the amount of money you make, you're being affected. You're definitely being affected. The opioid epidemic is hot and heavy in rural areas. Rural areas are the areas where many white people escape to get away from Black people, basically. And those are the hardest hit areas for opioid epidemic. It's currently spreading, to the big cities or to the urban areas. But even when it gets to these urban areas, because we all know that urban means Black people are not dying from opioids. Black people don't generally get into drugs like that. Something is playing. Let me see if I can find it and stop it. Okay, not sure what that was or where it's coming from, but true enough, Black people or the Black community was affected by the crack epidemic in the 80s and 90s. We all know that the CIA put the drugs in our communities. But even then, it was nothing like what this is today. Like back in the 80s and 90s, everybody knew the crackhead. I mean, there was a crackhead, but you didn't have like brand new crackheads showing up on the scene. There was like, you saw a person, okay, that's your local crackhead. You go to another area, oh, that's the local crackhead. But it wasn't to the point to where you had people, you know, geeking on drugs, like not like this opioid epidemic. In fact, I mean, I know a lot of people who, when I was growing up in the early 90s, who were crackheads, and you see them today, they don't even look like they skipped a beat. It don't look like they did drugs, drunk alcohol, did nothing in their entire lives. I mean, these people look good today, but back in the day, they was crackheads. So, I don't know, this opioid epidemic, it's something serious. Something serious. Now, don't think that, just because I sit here and I talk about it, that I feel sorry. Because I don't feel sorry. Because nobody...
Packed with flavor, one hero was on a mission to save snack time. Watch Baby Bell in The Great Snack Rescue. You want to...
Okay, I got it. It's another screen. But, like I was saying, I don't feel sorry about it, because when the crack epidemic hit the black community, we suffered, we suffered. It wasn't as bad as this opioid epidemic, but you gotta think, man, people went to jail for like 10, 20 years just from possession. They didn't commit any violent crimes or anything like that. They went to prison. And now, with this opioid epidemic, they're saying, instead of locking the people up, they're saying pat them on the back. Create facilities where they can go and use their drugs safely, so that we can have Narcan on standby to bring them back to life if they do overdose. So it's just a hypocrisy in the whole thing. Growing up in the 80s, there was this big ass campaign, just say no, and now, I mean, you would think, as bad as the overdoses are, that they would have, all kinds of marketing campaigns out and about, billboards splattered all over the place, just like they did us. Just like they did us when I was growing up. You had DARE was huge in school. You had all kind of programs. It was blasted everywhere, The media gave, babies the term crack babies. I mean, it was blasted everywhere. Now with this opioid epidemic, but you know what? I'm starting to see them speak about opioids a lot more now. I've been following this for maybe about 6 or 7 months, and I've seen them speak about the opioids a lot more within the past, I'm gonna say maybe 2 months, because before they would hardly ever talk about it. I'll never forget, it was maybe about a year ago. Now, this is before I even started doing research about the opioid epidemic, but there was a special that came on the news. Well, no, it wasn't a special. It was just like a regular, news report. Whenever it comes to white people, they hardly ever show anything bad about white people. So it was just like this short little segment. I'm guessing this was around the time where the media was still kind of ashamed of, the opioids and the overdoses that was happening, even though it's been going on for 20 years. But I remember watching this newscaster talk about how bad the opioid overdoses have increased in Georgia. And then, like, right when he said it, they started rolling and showing all the different zip codes in Georgia that was affected. Oh my God, y'all. It was like, it had to be like every single zip code in the state of Georgia, because it was just rolling, across the screen. And I remember looking at it, and I told my husband, I was like, oh my God, did you see that? This guy was talking about how, people are overdosing and dying, and he showed all the counties where it's like most relevant. And y'all, it had to be like, I don't know, there was so many zip codes that showed. And I remember seeing it then, but you know what? I really didn't think much about it afterwards. I saw it, I was like, damn, that's a lot. Then I just kept it moving. I didn't even really think about it that much after that. But yeah, there's definitely some shit that's going on. My spirit just been telling me, it's time. It's time for that change. A lot of people talk about, oh, it's the end of the world. The end of the world is coming. But, at the same time, it's like, no. No, Revelations doesn't mean the end of the world. Revelations, the key word there is reveal. Revelations means to bring truth to light. I don't think this world is going to end. I think it's going to change. Now, true enough, it may be end times for a certain group of people. And, I don't know about y'all, but it's starting to look like this group of people might be white people. Like, seriously. Like, this article, what's the name of this article? It says, study finds more young white people developing and dying from colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer. That's another thing, man. It's all kind of stuff that's killing white people off. Like some stuff I ain't never even heard of. And I'm like, what the hell is that? But they dying from it. Oh my God, y'all. I read this article one time. It was in Australia. And it was talking about how a severe thunderstorm killed like 5 people and sent like thousands of other people to the hospital. It wasn't necessarily the storm itself that was killing the people, but the storm, I guess there was some kind of allergies, or like if you had an underlying respiratory issue, something about the storm's mixture of, I don't know, whatever pollutants, or I guess pollen or something that mixed around in the damn air from a damn thunderstorm, y'all. And it killed like 5 people in one weekend. Like, I'm so serious. Like, they dying from like the craziest stuff. Like, even when you hear about freak accidents that happen. Like, there was this other article I read about a week ago, I want to say. I can't remember which mountain they were at. They were at, I don't know if it was at Yellowstone. Oh, there was somebody that died. There was a couple people that died at Yellowstone. Somebody that fell into like one of the hot springs or something like that. And they died. But no, they was at some mountain doing mountain climbing. And the dude was just standing there, I guess, like at the base of the mountain. And I guess he wanted to take a picture or a selfie. And do y'all know a rock fell on him? It's like crazy stuff going on. Just crazy ass shit. Crazy ass shit. So you got white people. Majority, I don't know if y'all know this, but majority of the white population is the elderly population. That's like their biggest population. So then you got stuff like this that's happening to the young white people. It says, let me look at this article. It says death rates from colorectal cancer for adults ages 20 to 54 are increasing by 1% each year, according to a new study. A rise that appears to be driven by an increase in the number of younger white adults getting and dying from the disease. Researchers from the American Cancer Society analyzed demographic trends from 1970 to 2014 and noted that the increase in death rates was confined to white individuals. Oh my goodness. See, look, a lot of these articles, when they talk about these diseases that's killing off white people, they always specify how it's only affecting white people. Like, they don't just say like, white people, black people, Hispanic people, and then break it down to show like the increases and decreases and how no, it's specifically white people that's dying. And look, they're young. It says confined to white individuals ages 30 to 39 and ages 40 to 54. So neither one of those are among the elderly group. These are still young people. So you got white people in a position where they're not only losing their elderly, they're also losing their youthful people. And then on top of all of this, you got suicides that is just through the freaking roof. And a lot of these suicides are increasing among teenagers. Their young are checking out. They're checking out. Wow. Okay, hang on. Look at this last sentence. It says, in contrast, black individuals had death rates from this cancer that declined. You see that? That declined from 0.4% to 1.1% annually on average. That's another thing. Like, a lot of the stuff that affected black people predominantly, the table has completely turned. Where we used to be number one for diabetes, number one for high blood pressure, number one for certain cancers. Do you know that over the course of the last 10 years, that has totally flipped the script? Totally flipped the script. So now you got white people that's number one for cancer, number one for high blood pressure, number one for diabetes. I'm telling you, man. I mean, I know a lot of people don't believe in natural selection, but I mean, what do you say? Really? Like, what do you say? Because the writing is definitely on the wall. I don't know, man. Tell me what you think about this. Like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks.